Hey, what's happening, Roland? Well, today is Friday and it's time for the weekly update, and it's been quite a week. You know, I finally got out to the good Headwaters pond this last couple of days. My shoulder had given me a little bit of a fit the last fishing trip, but I did pretty well. Now, here was the problem. We had a cold front hit just a couple days ago, and the water temperature was like 59, 60 degrees when I got there 2 days ago. And the fish weren't biting very good, but look what happened when the sun came out. The sun came out yesterday afternoon, and that was just a few hours ago, actually in the afternoon, yesterday afternoon. That one was 8 pounds and 3 ounces, and I had another one that was only 7 pounds, 15 and a half ounces. So I had two big bass, right about 8 pounds apiece. Anyway, let me tell you how I caught them. Okay, this is really a good deal. When I got to the Headwaters pond, that's up around Vero Beach, it's part of the Stick Marsh complex. I had an idea that they'd maybe be hitting this white chatterbait, because I'd heard from JT Kenny and a couple of the other guys that the white chatterbait had produced not only just a few fish, but an 11 and a half pounder and a 10 pounder just this week. So I have the half ounce, and that's the Jackhammer series. And the Jackhammer series is a little bit more expensive. It's the Bread Height Signature Series one, and on the back of it, I'm running a Zako. Now this Zako is a really kind of a neat thing, and it's a swimming minnow type of deal. I put it on the chatterbait, slide it up on the thing, and that there. Now this is braid, I'm a straight 50-pound test braid because there's some big fish around. Okay, I was taking that chatterbait, making a nice long cast with it, and my arm was kind of giving me a little fit, so I had to kind of baby it, and I just reel it at a steady reel. Well, I can't on the grass because it gets hung, but just kind of steady, and I'd get it down about 3 or 4 feet deep. Well, I was fishing these little islands and little spoil places and little shallow spots, and I was catching a whole bunch of small bass. I had a couple around 2 pounds, and I caught like a dozen, and they were just not big. So I said, well, I'm not catching big fish. This is when it was 61 degrees. It was 2 days ago. It was kind of drizzly and cold and windy. And then I said, well, I'll try this swim bait. Maybe I catch a bigger fish on that, because I heard about some good fish there. Well, the swim bait is a 3/8 of an ounce swim jig. It's a swim jig, and on the back of it I had a Zako, and I tried that hardtail grub. I tried a couple different combinations of trailers on the swim jig, and again I throw it, make a nice long cast, throw it out there. Again, I have 50-pound braid and just a slow, steady retrieve about 2 to 3 feet deep. Now the water is about 5 or 6 feet deep there, or even 7 feet deep. It's pretty clear, so it doesn't have to get all the way to the bottom. They can see it up 3 and 4 feet, so as long as it's down a couple feet, it's all right. Now there's clumps of hydrilla. That lake is so full. It's 10,000 acre area up there, and it's just so full of hydrilla, just millions and millions of hydrilla plants all over the place, and some of it comes up to the top. Some of the hydrilla comes up top, but a lot of it's just halfway up. And so there's holes in the hydrilla, and they're just in the hydrilla and in those holes as well. Okay, so that was doing pretty good. I was making a film, and I was trying to show how to catch fish on a cold front, and I caught about a dozen or so bass on swim jigs and swim baits, and the chatterbait. Well, finally I was really getting disappointed, so I pulled over to this one little canal area where there was like a point coming out, and I took this Senko. And this was the one I did a YouTube on. I showed it how I rigged it up, a special kind of way, and I put a little weed guard thing on it. Anyway, that's my special hook, and it holds the Senko on there really good. And anyway, that happens to be 17-pound test fluorocarbon, by the way. That's just a regular fluorocarbon deal, and that's a 7-foot. This is my favorite rod. This is a 7-foot medium heavy action rod. It's really good. Okay, what I was doing there, I was making a nice long cast on the edge of those canal. Is like a little berm that goes across, and I was holding a high rod, and I was just watching. The wind died off a little bit, and I could kind of fish it slow and easy, and I'd watch that line. I'd just move it just a little teeny bit. Well, it's hung in the grass right now. Move it about a couple inches, and just let it sit there for a couple of seconds. Don't. First one to hit is a couple 3 pounds. Okay, that was pretty good. Okay, then I threw back out there and dunk, another time hit. All of a sudden I set the hook, it breaks my line. Now I had another kind of worm on. I had some 50-pound braid with a 12 or 15-pound test leader. And I didn't mean to do it. I put too much pressure on it. And I saw the braid and I set the hook too hard. And I fought the fish harder than I should have. It was my fault. I broke the leader. Well, it was a big one. It was a big bass. So then I moved the boat a little bit. I said, well, gosh, there's a couple fish in this little cut. I picked up this rod. Okay, this rod has the 17-pound fluorocarbon on it. That special hook that I made up for, it's kind of a flipping deal. And I was just making a nice long cast and holding that high rod, just working it slow and easy. And when I did, I just kind of barely pull it along, just barely move it along. And bam, bam, caught a couple of about 5 pounds. Big old nice bass. Just a couple really beautiful bass. And so anyway, we did a YouTube. The whole YouTube film was how to catch fish on a cold front. I was trying different things, and I was going to go to a crankbait. I didn't try the flipping part at that time. Okay, so then we got that film done. I decided yesterday, I get up, it's a whole lot warmer. In fact, the water temperature is another couple degrees warmer. We get warmer. We get to the lake, and it's about 61 degrees now, a little bit warmer. Okay, and I'm drifting down this canal, and I figured, well, I'm going to try some flipping. I hadn't tried it. My son Scott had been over there, he and his daughter Hillary, and they were taking these 1.25 ounce weights, big flipping hooks and big creature baits, and they were flipping in hydrilla heavy hydrilla on the edge of a little ditch. Well, I was just going down there yesterday. It was about 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, and all of a sudden, look what that big one hit. This big one right here. That was such a big fish. It was 8 pounds and 3 ounces. And what I did, I was just talking to the camera, and I wasn't even half paying attention. I just dropped it in the hydrilla, and I was just kind of up, and I pulled it up, jigged it a couple times, and as I was pulling it up, kind of slow, as it was coming up through the hydrilla, bam, that 8-pounder hit. I said, oh, okay, let's change gears. I'm going to do another YouTube on how to flip. So sure enough, I go through all the ABCs, and I show how to rig up the hook and how to talk about the snell knot. You know, I was talking about this little deal here where when the hook, for example, this is that Cowboy series, that's a Yamamoto bait, but this hook is snelled, and I was really kind of showing this operation because of the concave design of that weight and the way it's snelled right here on the corner. Watch the way that hook rotates up every time you pull it. Every single time you pull it, the hook point comes up, and that just enhances your hooking. I mean, you can hook up so much better now. That's 65-pound braid. That's a big old Gamakatsu hook. It's a big flipping hook. I come through there and I rig it up, and boy, I'm telling you what, they were biting this pretty good. Not only did they bite this Cowboy, that's a Yamamoto Cowboy, they also bit this other deal that I got. They bit this Zako here. It's just kind of a swim jig, and I used it for a deal here. See, I put that on there. Hey, they hit that too. So anyway, that was really, really a big deal. The worm, by the way, you know, you hear me talking about worms all the time, and so one of the things that I used yesterday, or the day before yesterday, was the watermelon red. That's not the green pumpkin that I always use, but that's a watermelon red. It's a really good color. Okay, so then yesterday afternoon I completely finished with the flipping show, and I said to myself, what can I do? Maybe I have enough time for another YouTube. So I had some shiners. And here's what I did, folks. I took my shiner rods, and that's so cool. I'll just show you what I did. There's two kinds of floats here. This one kind of hook I made myself. I made the weed guard. I just took a piece of wire and I made that weed guard right like this. And that's a Gamakatsu shiner hook, by the way. But anyway, I made my own weed guard. Okay, it works pretty good. That's actually 65-pound braid. That's 65-pound braid. Okay, that's one setup. Now see, in the state of Florida, you can fish more than one rod. So I had this other rod. It's about the same thing. Difference is I have these reels that have a clicker on them. And the clicker really kind of helps out. You can lay the rod down and go do something else and hear the fish run off with the bait. And I always catching small fish. Again, I have a regular weedless hook here. And then I did the old balloon trick. And I know you've seen me over years. I used to tie these balloons, and I still do. I have balloons. It's just a great way to have a float set up. And you don't put much air in it, just a little teeny bit of air. Anyway, I had a couple dozen shiners. I caught a bunch of little fish, and I'm drifting across some hydrilla. And finally, late yesterday afternoon, I told Sean, my cameraman, I said, Sean, we only can fish about another 10 minutes. It's about almost 4 o'clock, and the big fish aren't biting. I don't know what's happening. All of a sudden, my float goes down into the hydrilla. I set the hook. I'm just all bogged up into the hydrilla. I'm just reeling as hard as I can, and I catch another monster bass. And it was only 7 pounds, 15.5 ounces, because I'd put it on the scale. It would go 8 pounds, 7.15, 8, 7.15, 8. So I didn't call it 8 pounds. I called it 7 pounds, 15.5 ounces. Another big giant bass. And that was the end of the Shiner show. And so it was really quite an eventful day, but it was all the good fishing, and those big bass hit because the water temperature was rising. And so when I tell people when they want to come to Florida, when should I come to Florida? Well, avoid the worst of the cold fronts. Try to not schedule around a big old cold front, and try to schedule your trip so as you have warming water temperatures. Now all week I was doing other stuff. I was still really working on the turkey call. My turkey call operation's really getting good. That's kind of that's not even. I don't even have it tightened up right now. But anyway, I've made about 50 turkey calls in the last couple weeks, and I'm selling them on as fast as I can get them, really. And I autograph them. This one here I haven't done. This is just one that I got. But I'll autograph their name and all about where I got the wood, and all about Neil Koss, the guy that developed these big box calls, and a little bit about that. And I make an exquisite call, and I was selling them for $200, and I'm doing pretty well with that. So if you want more information on getting your own turkey call autographed and a killer turkey call in the process, my wife Judy is judym at fishingwithrolandmartin.com. That's judym at fishingwithrolandmartin.com. I'll build you a really good boat paddle turkey call. Hey, well, that's what's happening in my world. I'm having a good time. Taking my shoulders, kind of recuperating. I'm all over the COVID. Hey, I feel like $1 million. Hey, so thanks for watching. Hit that likes button, and thanks for your subscription, and we'll see you again soon.